Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of Pub versus Boardroom, a title we're still not sure about. I'm Alex, this is Jim, short for Jimothy. What is Jim short for? I don't know. It's not fair. Don't ask. He's just shorter than I am. Don't worry about it. Okay, so we are two reasonably well-spoken men trying to fix Britain without a consultant committee or even a clue, and maybe buying a midlife crisis sports car as Jim did 30 years ago before he even got into midlife crisis mode. What have you got?
I've got a Series 1 Lotus Elise that I bought at the age of 28. I'm now 56, so I worked out this morning. I've had it exactly half my life.
Brilliant.
And unfortunately, it hasn't seen much tarmac in the last couple of years, but it will.
Just been floating.
No, it's just seen the inside of my garage, sadly. The brakes are bound on. I need someone cleverer than me to help sort it out. The last couple of times that I drove it, I think people were thinking I'd had and I have had people accusing me of having a midlife crisis.
But you've owned it since new?
I bought it brand new in 1998.
Wow.
And
so it's a classic now.
If only the government would see it that way. There was a time when they were allowing all classic cars to have free tax when they got to 25 years old. But at some point they realised that would suddenly capture mini metros and stuff. So no, I still have to pay tax on it, which is a bit sad. And actually it has probably only done 5,000 miles in the last 15 years.
Wow. So verging on museum piece once
it's just that. Yeah, it needs a bit of work, really.
Okay.
I did take it around Brands Hatch relatively recently. It's great fun around the track. But I'm finding it harder and harder to get in and out of. In fact, gone are the days when I could actually get in and out with the roof on. It's got a removable roof. It's not like a modern sports car where you press a button and the roof comes back.
Yeah.
You have to take it off.
Did you jump in, like straight over the
I have done. Yeah. With the window down. Oh, the easiest way to get in and out.
Over the roof.
No, when the roof's off and the windows are down, you can literally jump in and out. And I regularly do that. And somehow it's easier than standing up and then climbing out.
I've been in sports cars. I was at an event, the Porsche Carrera GT Cup race.
Oh, yeah.
And the company that had bought one of my companies had said, "Oh, we sponsor this team, so you can have some tickets." So okay, thank you. Went up there, took my father-in-law, and had a chat with the driver, and got into the car. Very, very tight, very tight. So the driver was about just over 6 foot, almost fully grown, and he was, basically like a child. And he said, well, if there's a fire, you have to be able to get out in under 10 seconds. I said, it's taken me a minute to get in. Unfurling myself and then furling myself, refurling myself like a greyhound on one's lap, which folds up quite small, like myself. And so I told him, I don't think I'd be able to get it out in 10 seconds. He said, if there's a fire, you're motivated to move faster.
Yes, I would think so, yeah.
And so he said, I asked him if he could demonstrate this getting out in 10 seconds. He said, no. No. Basically, if there was a fire, then yes. But he couldn't do it any other time. Just fair enough. But yeah, it was all, safety bars and cage.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
These things that are hurtling around the track at anything up to sort of 150 miles an hour.
Oh,
they don't get up to full speed because the tracks are small.
Yes.
It's really only Formula One tracks that equivalent where you can really, get the welly going and get them up to full speed. But most of the rest of the tracks that are used in regional sports car, right, they don't go up to full speed.
No, that's right.
The straights are too short.
So there's what's known as the Indy circuit at Brands Hatch, which is the shortened version. But I was lucky enough once to do the full Grand Prix track, which is awesome. But they don't use it very often because you've got to have so many marshals looking after it. So sadly, when you go on a track day, you generally just get the Indy circuit.
Yeah.
But it's got all the best bits on the Indy circuit, or most of the best bits on the Indy circuit.
I did my skid pan training at Brands Hatch with a former Formula One reserve test driver.
Oh, who was that?
When I was 18.
Who was that?
I have no idea. It was years ago. I never learned his name. I wasn't really into Formula One then. I'm more into it now.
Okay.
But it was really useful. It was an 18th birthday present, either that or like the Christmas. No, I think it was an 18th birthday because I passed my test when I was 17 in the December. And then a few months later, I got this skid pan training. And great investment, very clever decision by my parents because
is that right?
It got me out of a couple of scrapes. It stopped me from having accidents. So parents, if you're listening and your kids are learning to drive, invest in skid pan training for them because you'll save your car. You'll get the value back very quickly. And it's a lot of fun. So do the training as well yourself if you haven't done it. But things like taking your foot off the brake once you've already braked once, because that in those days, that was before the days of ABS.
Yeah.
So once you lock the wheels,
Yeah.
well, the brakes have done their job.
Yeah.
And so,
But then you're out of control, aren't you?
then you're out of control. So having a steering into skids, taking your feet off the brake once the brake is locked to the wheels. And yeah, it's really useful, and didn't stop me from having all of the accidents that I've ever had, but it stopped me from having some of the accidents I had. Luckily, the accidents I have had didn't involve other vehicles.
Just you?
Just me. I was very fortunate and didn't die in any of them.
Oh, obviously not. Is this in the car park they do the skid pan training?
No, it's a special course in a specially adapted vehicle whereby the driver has individual control over each wheel.
Right.
And you don't go above about 15 miles an hour, and it's really frightening because you can go up to a junction at 15 miles an hour, hit the brake, nothing happens, and you just glide sort of delicately and to orchestral music sideways through the junction, and it's the loss of control. The feeling is terrifying, and it really makes you pay attention as a teenager. Makes you realize, oh crumbs, I am not in control of this thing, and it's a really, really good way of learning. Completely safe. So
I was going to ask you a question. It's related to the topic, or at least the subject of our podcast, which is, do you miss pub lock-ins?
I have never actually experienced a pub lock-in. I've worked in pubs.
You've never experienced a pub lock-in?
No.
Where did you grow up?
In the countryside, but I was quite young and I wasn't particularly interested in drinking heavily.
Well, hang on. How old are you now?
48.
So I'm trying to work this out. How old were you in 2003? You were well over the age of drinking in 2003.
Yeah, sure.
Pub lock-ins basically stopped in 2003 because they changed the licensing laws to allow all pubs to open whenever they liked.
If they chose to.
If they chose to, and I think they had to probably get permission from the local authority.
Okay, so by that point, I mean, I'm not a late night partier. I had been, but when I was younger, I was working. I was, DJing and going out, and then after work having a few drinks, and then thinking, right, well, it's end of the night now. So very few occasions that I was partying through the night.
And what sort of times? When are we talking here? In the 90s?
Late 90s, early noughties, a bit.
So you were working, but you were working in the nighttime economy. So you were working as a DJ, and you never came across a lock-in.
If you're working as a DJ, for example,
I suppose,
then you're leaving your workplace. Well, whenever your set finishes, maybe you have a calming down drink, usually non-alcoholic, after you finish, and then you might meet up with other friends who perhaps have been out partying that evening, and you might just go and have a quiet drink in a bar somewhere, and it'll be a nice bar, but no, not really pubs. If you're working nighttime scene, do you want to go to a pub? Not really, because there's people there, and the last thing, you've already had people for, I'm autistic. I don't want to be hanging around people. So that's why I'm doing this. I don't want to be near the audience. Sorry.
Oh, well, that's a shame.
There needs to be a barrier between me and them, ideally. That's what the DJ booth provides. It's like, I'm up here with my glass of Ribena. And even if I was working in a pub, not DJing, working in a pub, glass of Ribena and separate. Yeah, I didn't hang around afterwards. When the bar staff would almost always be, the doors would close, people would leave after the hours, and then they would have drinks afterwards. And because a lot of them lived in the various different pubs and establishments where I might have worked.
So I think the lock-in was the preserve of the landlord. So if you were working in pubs which were managed pubs, and were they town pubs rather than village?
City.
I'm city.
So I left the village lifestyle behind very quickly, bright lights, big city. But my village mindset is still very much still there.
Yeah.
Not really interested in outings in towns and cities unless there's cultural going on. And that's not an old man attitude. That was my attitude when I was a teenager as well. Like, it's a bit noisy and dirty there. No, thank you. Or it's too quiet. Yeah. So there's halfway in between. It's a contradiction in terms.
I used to enjoy a lock-in, and they were big in the night. Certainly, I mean, I say it's a
You're
country
a little
pub.
older than me.
I am a little older than
So
you.
you would have had more drinking experience in the 90s, I guess.
Oh, for sure. So I spent all of my 90s living in Rochester in Kent,
Right.
which is a city.
Yeah.
But ironically, the pub that I frequented was, to all intents and purposes, a country pub, which was owned by the landlord, obviously, but not managed, but owned by him. So any extra revenue that he could get by closing his curtains at 11 and letting us stay in there went straight in his till. So yeah, we used to have quite a few. I don't think I'll get in trouble for saying that because the landlord is sadly no longer with us, long since gone. But it was a thrill. It was a genuine thrill because you'd always ask him, Mike, any chance we can stay on? No, and he'd more often than not he'd say no, but just occasionally he'd go, yeah, right then. And interestingly, the coppers from the local police station would quite often come up and see if he was still serving.
Well,
they would sometimes come in.
Oh yeah,
for a drink.
Well, here's the thing. I'm not ashamed of saying that I have been to Wetherspoons on several occasions. Yes, I know, shocking. But so Wetherspoons, for those who aren't in the know, if you're not in the UK, is a large chain of very cut price pubs where you can get a hot meal for a tiny amount of money, and they're very supportive of real ale as well.
They are.
They have a certain reputation because they're very cheap to go to. Anyway, but yeah, I've been to Wetherspoons, and
can we just clarify?
Yes,
the reputation though is not necessarily for the pubs themselves.
No, the pubs fine,
but probably from the clientele that they attract because of their low prices. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I've been to Wetherspoon because I've worked on tour and I've travelled a bit for work, especially in the UK. I've been to a lot of Wetherspoons, and when you need a cheap hot meal fast, it's a lot better to go to a Wetherspoons than it is to go to, for example, a fast food outlet, which is not really the sort of food I like to eat anyway. But it's food, it's hot, and it's it's going to cost you. You can have a pint and a meal for less than £10, $12, $13, whatever it is. Yeah, why not? Anyway, so the point is that I went to the local Wetherspoons for breakfast, for a cooked breakfast, because it just saves stinking up the kitchen.
Yeah.
And
no bacon though.
No
sausages.
Full vegetarian spread.
Full vegetarian
Absolutely
English.
fine.
What's that? Just beans and eggs.
Well, you have vegetarian sausages as well. Have vegetarian bacon.
Really?
Off. Yeah.
What, from a vegetarian pig? What's that? A pig?
You've
that's raised
got to kill and butcher the vegetarian first. I have no problem with that. I'm not an ethical vegetarian.
I know you're not.
And very few people figure out what sort of vegetarian I am.
Well, talk me through vegetarian sausages.
Well,
we're digressing.
Well, they're made of protein-filled
mushrooms.
Things. Well, they can be mushrooms, they can be vegetables, they can be pulses, but more often than not, they're quite palatable. They're fine.
Okay.
Anyway,
I'm not
digressing. So, the point being was that went to Wetherspoons and had a cooked breakfast. My wife had a cooked breakfast, and there were people drinking around us, and it was 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
On a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And I was a bit snooty about this. And I think, God, what's wrong with them if they're drinking that time of the morning? My wife made a really good point, which was maybe they're shift workers and they've just finished. And it took me back, and it's a perfectly reasonable point. It took me back to the point when, I've been working night shifts or finished very late.
Yeah.
And even when I was a teenager, when I was DJing, I sometimes finish at, early hours of the morning, and I'd be tired. I'd be very hungry. I'd go to the all-night cafe and have a meal, and maybe, very often, I would have had a little drink. Very small drink, because otherwise you don't sleep very well. But,
they're not, though, are they? They're not shift workers.
No, 8 o'clock in the morning, bottle of wine, don't think so.
No. The other excuse...
Maybe I was right to be snooty, but
I think you were.
I'm not judging people for drinking first thing in the morning.
No.
But I'm just saying that my father, who was an alcoholic, his day died, surrounded by empty bottles, didn't drink in the morning. He would have a hard cut-off.
Mine did.
At 12 o'clock. No drinking.
Mine did by the end. He was drinking in the morning.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Was your father an alcoholic as well?
Yes, and he died from it.
Was he surrounded by empty bottles?
Not literally, but figuratively. It's very definitely.
One up on you.
Yeah. Was he literally surrounded with empty bottles? Oh, God.
That's how they found him several days after.
No.
In tropical heat. Oh. Literally in another country.
That doesn't matter thinking about.
No. Well, that's kind of why I don't drink too much.
Oh, right.
Unless I'm doing a podcast.
Well, cheers to that.
Yeah, cheers. That got dark very quickly. He's dead, and I don't want to be like him, but shit.
So yeah, okay.
No, but I love my father, and he was brilliant. And he adored me. So, he must have done something right. Otherwise I wouldn't be here, reasonably well spoken and doing podcasts.
There you go.
So, he was brilliant.
Well done, the father.
And he thing is, as much as you might like to have a go at a parent who's absent or no longer with you, they put food on the table. Yeah.
And beer, by the sound.
And beer. Well, it wasn't his typical choice. He was a bottle of wine a day, followed by a bottle of brandy chaser. Not in one go, obviously. That would be madness.
No. But he was drinking a bottle of wine and a bottle of brandy every day.
Yes. And then later, more.
Shit.
Well, yeah.
I've got some way to go yet.
I did have a session with a neighbour once, and that was a bit peculiar because it ended up being my wife's first husband's new wife's sister.
Your wife's new husband's?
My wife's first husband.
Your wife's first husband
had a new wife.
Oh, okay.
And it turned out to be her sister.
That you were getting drunk with?
That I was getting drunk with. Yeah, I didn't know any of this until after we got very, very drunk. Anyway, so she was just a neighbour. And went around, gone, and that's a bottle of wine. We got through, between the two of us in one evening, got through 7 bottles of wine. That's Andre the Giant territory.
Yeah.
He was hungover for a week. I had a bit of a headache the next day.
Yeah.
That was about 15 years ago. I was drinking a lot then. I've got some corrections, actually.
I'll do the corrections.
Corrections and comments. Yeah, the stuff that we got wrong. And caveat that we get a lot of stuff wrong. So none of the Pythons studied theology. They just did lots of research. Graham Chapman actually studied to become a medical doctor. So, no flies on. They were all Oxford and Cambridge. They were all very smart cookies, but none of them studied theology.
So that's your mea culpa.
That's me, yes.
Because you said that. I think I might have gone along with that.
Yeah. Hindu gods. There are several Hindu gods that have fewer than 4 limbs, but there are also lots of gods who have lots of limbs.
Too many limbs.
Yeah. We talked about religion and least believing. I've now, having done a bit of research, found religion I really like. Oh, because they give you free food, which is Sikh. So we're going to go on a day trip at some point in the near future. We're going to go to the Sikh Gurdwara, I think it's called, in the nearby town, and they'll give you a free meal. So we're going to do that.
I'm pretty sure lots of religions do that. If you go to the mosque, you get fed.
Okay.
And if you go for communion, you get the body of Christ.
Get a wafer?
No, that's the body of Christ.
You're not going to get a meal.
It's literally flesh. You can't go. I'm vegetarian.
The flesh, I don't want to eat. I mean, it's not going to be a good meal, is it?
I think it's called transmogrification.
Okay.
Or transubstantiation.
Okay.
And
is that in Romania?
No, you're thinking of vampires.
Hang on, how is eating somebody's flesh not vampiric? You see what I did there, folks?
Yeah, very good. Well, anyway, apparently vampires didn't eat flesh, but that's another conversation.
Vampires weren't real.
Vampires weren't real, no.
Plenty of people who've eaten other people.
They were based on certain things going on in that part of the world.
Yeah,
anyway,
Vlad the Impaler.
Yes. Yeah. But the point I'm trying to make, if I can remember, is that...
As that was just one beer in.
The church, not even that. The church, I think again it's the Catholics rather than the other side, literally believe that when the vicar does his, or the priest does his spells or whatever he does, the point is that in the Catholic Church, when he does his spells, the wafer and the wine literally, not figuratively, literally become the body of Christ and the blood of Christ. So you're not doing this as a symbolic thing. You are literally consuming
human flesh
and human blood.
Lovely.
So there you go. So you get fed. All the religions will feed you.
Yeah.
I mean, they just want bums and seats, don't they?
Yeah. Okay. But what about, community, which is, one of the benefits of some religions, community, being part of something bigger than yourself.
Yeah. Hence the word communion. It's all from
the important point about Sikh food is that it's also vegan as well. So appeals to a wider audience of people who've got, some sort of connection to the world.
I've realised in the last week that you're the man that organised a hot wings eating competition.
Wings. You can get vegetarian wings.
Get away.
Yeah,
how'd you put the bones in?
You don't need to put bones in them.
No, chicken wings need bones. If you're doing a wings eating competition, you've got to have bones. You can't substitute bits of vegetarian sausage.
It's not about the chicken. It's about the sauce.
Yeah, but is the competition see how many you can eat or have it timed?
How hot you can get.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you, as a vegetarian, could just have a piece of bread and then put the hot sauce on, and that could be your chicken wing.
Well, as I said, I'm not an ethical vegetarian, so you
could eat the chicken.
I like chicken. I just choose not to eat it.
So would you make an exception for your chicken wing eating competition?
Well, no, because there's no point of making an exception if you're not going to make an exception.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, that's the nature of not being an ethical vegetarian. I'm not doing it for ethical reasons. I can be contrary and say no for whatever reason I like, but I have my reasons.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. There's some other corrections.
Oh.
This happened at the Cricket Club where Jim and I met. And actually, the first podcast that we did, which is episode 1, was only the fourth time we had actually spoken. No, the third time we'd actually spoken. It was an hour conversation which we recorded and gave to you. So prior to that, we don't have a long-lasting prior relationship. So we will reference the Cricket Club where we both play that I just recently joined this year, played a couple of games last year. But anyway, so the conversation about leg hair and trimming. I was relaying a conversation about hair to somebody at the club who was bald, right? They were
doesn't cut it down much.
They were disgusted by the notion that I had shaved my leg hair, and then can't say it.
What are you trying to say? Hypocritically or hypothetically?
Hypocritically, they then said, "Oh, but I shaved my back. Here's a picture of the pile of hair."
How?
Well, someone else did it for them.
Oh, well, that's even worse.
Hang on. So why are you having a go of me for shaving my legs when you've done that? And you equally, just forgive me when I throw up in my own mouth. Showed me a photograph of it. I just talked about it. I didn't take a photo of it. I'm not weird.
I'm trying to work out who this might be now.
I'll save you the time. I'll tell you another time.
All right.
Anyway, right. So what else was it?
Hang on. If it's one of the bald crew, couldn't they just train the hair up over the top of the back of their
Yeah,
neck?
sort of comb, not a comb over, but a comb up, straight out the back, like over the top. Yes. Another comment. We had a voice note from a listener who tried to disagree with the council tax maths, and then lost all confidence in what he was saying while he was saying it. So thanks, Will, but stick to.
I think you should play
teaching music.
I think you should play it.
I don't think that would be very fair. If people are going to, apart from that, look, if you want to have your voice heard, send us a message, drop us an email. There's a thing on the blog. Send comments down below. There's plenty of opportunity to interact. Don't forget to like and subscribe, of course. And if you're on YouTube, add some comments as well. We'd love to hear from you. We want your questions. Speaking of questions, last week, or last time, in fact, in the first episode,
2 weeks ago, then.
Just let's call it episode 1.
Yeah, all right. The pilot.
You said to me, I'm going to ask you questions about history because it's my topic. And I thought, right, okay, this is a slippery slope because last time, so I'm not bad at geography, but last time I had a quiz with someone who had a degree in geography. This was on a long haul flight over to, we were flying to Toronto, I think, and doing an event in Detroit. Good fun. Anyway, so my boss had a degree in geography, was really chuffed to bits with himself at his own knowledge of geography. And there was a geography quiz, an interactive quiz on the plane, on the back of the seat thing with the touchscreen thing. And I said, why don't we both do the quiz? And I'm sitting a couple of rows away from him. And so fair enough, we both do the quiz and I get a significantly higher score than he does. Do the event. A few weeks later, he makes me redundant. And I'm pretty convinced that it was because I beat him at that quiz. Because I was really good at my job, right? So have you had are you a bad boss? Have you had any bad experiences with bosses?
I hope I'm not a bad boss. I think I've got one staff member who's been there 10 years.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, especially for retail, and any number of other staff that are coming up to 10 years. So we don't have How
many staff have you got?
Well,
what's the most staff that you've had?
Oh, probably when I had the 3 shops, because then we had 7 Oaks. So I don't know, maybe 20 or something at that point. I've got about 15 on the books, I would say now.
Okay.
But they don't all work every week. So I've got 2.
So how many full-time equivalent? Like 2 people per shop?
Oh, full-time equivalent would have to be about 5, I think.
Right, okay. In case you're not sure what the definition between those things, a full-time equivalent job is, what would you say, about 40 hours a week of that is one full-time equivalent role. Whereas in retail and hospitality and other roles where you need lots of cover at certain times of the week, like weekends, for example, in retail especially, or evenings in hospitality, You have fractional employees who are maybe have a 10-hour contract to cover Saturday night or Friday night. I've had contracts like that, or mid-afternoon or lunch cover, for example. If you've got 3 people in a shop, then one of them will be covering lunch times because it's convenient for them. So a full-time equivalent job is roughly 40 hours. So it's not a surprise to me to hear you say you've got 20 staff, but actually 5 full-time equivalents.
Yeah. So Saturday, Sunday staff may only work 1 day a week, and then a number that do 2 or 3. So, but back to your question, I think I treat them okay. They're not especially well paid.
I mean, 10 years is good. I mean, if you've got multiple staff coming up to that period of time, that's really, really good, because retail is hard and it's not brilliantly paid. But I think given the nature of your shop, because it's a gift shop, people are generally going in there with a positive attitude.
Oh, for sure.
And they're not going in there to give attitude to staff. And they're generally speaking going in there to buy a present or a gift. So they're already upbeat and feeling good.
Yeah.
They're not in there necessarily in a panic, although we did talk about Christmas people.
Oh, well.
Christmas customers, I think we'll call them. The C word was different.
Wow.
We'll call them, we're not going to say it. We'll call them Christmas customers.
I don't know where that's going, but I've always said the only day of the year when we have more male customers than female is Christmas Eve. Many men play Christmas chicken, which is leaving it as late as they can to buy their presents.
How hard is it to just be organised and be thoughtful?
You'd be surprised, Alex. I think this is your autism coming out again, that you can't understand how other people operate on different schedules to you.
Yeah.
I used to do it myself. Go out. Oh, was it Christmas tomorrow? I've got to go and buy some presents.
Well, it's logical, I suppose, in a way. My wife and I, we're a bit weird in that regard, because in many regards, but because she's also autistic. So we kind of just, we're middle-aged and we don't need to buy each other stuff. And we just agree, like, oh, is it nice? Great. Okay. It's much better, I think, to agree to buy each other things when it's not expected. Certainly that takes the pressure off, a bit like your, repeating flower deliveries. Great for the florist as well, repeating income.
Is this another romantic tip from the two of us?
Just a random act of kindness. I think that's not just romantic. It's a practical, pragmatic bit of advice for anybody who you care about. I send stuff to my mates.
Yeah.
Randomly, if I see something, I've sent random things to my mates, not on their birthdays, not at Christmas. And I'll get a message saying, "Was this you?" And I'll say, "Might it be? Maybe. Is it right? Did you enjoy it? What did you get?" Just play the fool.
I noticed you needed a mousetrap. So I sent you one, or whatever it is.
Yeah, send them some cheese and said, "Scatter this around." I'm not going to help you. That's just going to make it worse. I'll make the mouse better fed. Speaking of which,
have we done the mea culpas?
I was talking about the conversation I had with a certain government agency about dog poo bins.
Yes.
And putting our tech in dog poo bins.
Oh, yes.
And when I was saying this, I was thinking, oh, crumbs, I just completely undermined the ability for that national crime agency to use that technology in that way to support surveillance and operations. And then I thought, first of all, are criminals going to be listening for that detail? And secondly, I thought, if they are, they're just going to be spending their time opening dog poo bins,
see what's in it,
seeing what's inside, instead of getting on with whatever their jobs are, with their burglar costume on, with their stripy outfits, stalking through the streets with a bag of swag.
Do you think?
So I'm doing a public service here instead. Yeah.
Is there going to be a point where the police release their crime statistics and they release how they caught? Well, no, I was going to say they released the figures on how they caught people, and one of the subcategories will be, we noticed a lot of criminals looking in dog poo bins.
Just surveillance on dog poo bins. So there you go. So we're hiding all of our technology in dog poo bins, and now all the councils in the country need to put CCTV on dog poo bins. It's public service, as I said.
Can I help you with that?
Go on.
Don't make the mistake of citing your fake dog poo bin near a real one, because that will tip off the criminals as well. Because who puts 2 dog poo bins side by side?
Maybe some of the dog poo is recyclable.
Is that right? not the vegetarian stuff, I should think.
Oh, well, it's going to be nutty, right? So let's move on.
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any questions? Any burning questions
For you,
to ask.
I've
just
written,
generally for discussion.
well, yes. Well, you've talked about your autism. One of the questions, it may be a little bit too serious for this, but I've written down what is causing the increase in mental conditions such as autism, ADHD, anxiety, and dyslexia.
What causes an increase in detection of something?
So this was when I was driving at. Is it just the levels exist as they always have, and they're better monitored now?
Yeah. So certainly from my experience in being trained as a coach in sports, there is a much more robust understanding of mental health issues. The processes for identifying those issues is better in the education system. And the conditions themselves are better understood and more easily identified as a result of the better things in those systems. The GSM, which is the dictionary of mental health definitions and their explanations, is a very large book full of mental health definitions. So things like bipolar disorder, autism, the difference between autism and BPD, different types of mental health issues, whether they're biologically impacted, whether they're genetically impacted, whether they're inheritable. So lots of different things. And the thing is, like any health matter, the understanding of it has changed over time. And so this book is dramatically bigger than it was 100 years ago, when 120 years ago, when Freud was around, when there was almost no understanding of these things. So it's still a very new and emerging science. Everybody has something that is different about them physically. If the brain is the most complicated part of the human body, does it not stand to reason that everything is, everybody's different from one another within their brains? I think it's perfectly reasonable to think that it can be, you can be different from me. How you think about one thing, the process in which your brain works can be different from how mine works on a very small, specific, governed topic and way of looking at a problem, for example. But as people, scientists know and understand that we change dependent on our environment, nature, and nurture. Your DNA changes. It's proven that your DNA can change if your environment changes during your lifetime. And that is really fascinating, because if you expose, and this happened after World War II, if you expose a generation of people to reduced nutrition, the following generation will be physically smaller. And that is exactly what happened after World War II. Because rationing was there for over a decade. Didn't finish until the early 50s. And the generation of people who were born after that, to the people who were raised in that period of time, i.e. this generation, they are physically smaller. And then the following generation were bigger because their nutrition was so much improved.
Only in this country, though, presumably.
No, not only in this country. If you look at any country where there's been a significant increase in nutritional quality.
No, I meant specifically about the war.
There's a really interesting book, which I can't remember the title of. I'll put it on the screen, but there it is. I'll look. About the Ministry of Food during World War II. And it's about this chap who was a grocer who was put in charge of feeding not just Britain, but the British Empire as it existed in the late 30s, early 40s, which is a third of the planet. And so when the U-boats were torpedoing merchant shipping going around the Atlantic and elsewhere, they weren't just curtailing the ability for Britain to feed itself. They were curtailing the ability for Britain to feed its empire as well. This person was not just charged with feeding people like our grandparents, and interestingly, rationing is why I like Marmite and peanut butter sandwiches. Yeah, but there's an interesting reason why that is true, because it goes back all the way to what caused World War I, assassination of Franz Ferdinand. That's the reason I like Marmite and peanut butter sandwiches.
Because of Franz Ferdinand?
Yeah, the band.
Not the band. Don't take me out.
Because peanuts weren't rationed. Peanut butter was not rationed. And Marmite was...
Peanuts weren't rationed?
Peanut butter was not rationed.
In the war?
During World War II, peanut butter was not rationed. And so it was...
Hang on, you can't just move on from that. Why? Because they don't grow here.
Correct, but there was plenty of them, and they came from America.
They come from America. So,
Yeah.
so why were America able to bring in peanuts, but not anything that we actually wanted?
Well, they were bringing in all the other things as well. But a lot of things that we wanted were perishable items.
Yes, true.
I learned this because my grandmother worked at Bletchley Park during World War II. And you may remember, she's still alive, 103, amazing woman.
She worked at Bletchley Park?
Yep. As did my grandfather.
Is she the last surviving person from Bletchley Park?
No, there's a few.
Is it?
Yeah.
Like, did they discover the secret eternal life?
Well, they were motivated. They weren't better fed. I can attest to you because. So she told me that on the night shift, which was a very long, very arduous shift lasting 12 hours, the problem was that all of the workers at Bletchley Park were accommodated all around the county, and they were taken to and from Bletchley Park in some level of secrecy from their digs scattered around the county in a charac, basically a multi-seat, very small coach. And it might be an hour and a half drive. So on top of your 12-hour shift in the various different rooms or huts that were at Bletchley Park, you also had 3 hours of travel during the day, and you had one break. Yeah. And during that one break, and if you're on the night shift, there was no hot food, or the canteen was closed. You had to go and help yourself. And she told me, one single slice of white bread, a very small sort of penny-sized disc of butter, but Marmite, or the equivalent, unbranded version, which is a sort of yeast salt extract, byproduct of the brewing industry. Cheers. And peanut butter. So that was the only way that she could have any kind of hearty meal on this slice of bread, was loading it up with Marmite and peanut butter. As a result, she developed, over several years, developed like, well, this is what I eat now. My mother was then raised with that taste, and then I was raised with that taste.
You would think, would you not, that having been forced to eat one slice of white bread with a disc the size of a penny of butter and peanut butter and Marmite, that the last thing she would want to eat when the war finished would have been that. Anything but.
Well, I don't know. Maybe she was also autistic, because if you're autistic, you definitely like the same food over and over again.
Do you?
Yeah, very much so.
Vegetables in your case?
I eat other things other than vegetables, but I also eat a lot of the same thing over and over again. Oh, yeah.
What?
Lunches, cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
Pretty much every lunchtime.
Well, actually, I eat a lot of cheese sandwiches.
There you go. Maybe you're autistic.
All vegetarian.
Yeah.
Not just maybe like closet vegetarian.
Breakfast, same thing, pretty much like 6 days a week.
What?
Muesli. Oh. No added sugar. Swiss muesli.
Is it? Oh, Alpen.
No. I don't need the only brands in my life are pretty much Marmite.
Is that it?
Yeah.
I've got some Vegemite in my cupboard.
No, that's wrong.
I think it was the same thing.
Wrong. It's clearly not the same.
I'm trying to get rid of it. If there are any Australians who want to come and get it, come and get it. It's definitely not the same as Marmite.
No, it's definitely not the same. That's why it's completely wrong.
The only time we have Marmite in this family, and we do get through a lot of Marmite, is because I stir it into my gravy.
Yeah, that's good salt. Yeah.
It makes fantastic gravy. But no one has it on bread because that's disgusting.
Put it on toast.
And
peanut butter, obviously.
No, but I wouldn't. No, that's just wrong. I mean, I have had Marmite on toast before.
Like a normal person.
It's like eating a stick.
Like a twiglet.
Yes, like
that's exactly how they make twiglets. You take a stick, you put Marmite, but
they're not real sticks, though, are they?
I think they probably are. Actually, I don't like twiglets. I can't stand twiglets.
Really?
Yeah, but I love Marmite. But it's Marmite that's on twiglets. Go figure.
Is it? I didn't know Marmite. I thought it was dog shit.
We can't use bad language. So you're allowed one, and I think you'll
dog waste.
Dog poo. We covered it. A favourite of criminals.
Yeah. Okay.
For hiding technology. When were you last hunted?
No. Okay. No, I can.
You can't just come up to the jump and then reject the jump.
No. All right. I will.
As the racehorse that you are.
I don't think they were hunting me specifically.
Okay.
But a local
already. This is why it's a good question, you see.
I was contacted unexpectedly last November to see if I would go and help a neighbouring town whose parish clerk had quit on them unexpectedly. And the interesting thing about parish councils, town councils, is that they simply can't operate without a clerk. They can't call meetings.
You took that to mean headhunted.
I didn't specifically say headhunted, but I was I guess if the cap fits, look, I was contacted out of the blue. They hunted me down.
Okay.
Not me specifically, just someone with the skill set that would be able to help them out of a hole. So, but I took it in the spirit that it was meant, which is they really wanted me.
Okay. Is that now why you are clerk to
Indeed.
Town?
Yes, indeed.
So they headhunted you and you accepted. It's an appointed position,
Yeah.
not an elected position. So you rule with a iron fist of terror over some invoices and receipts.
Yes,
and
that's right. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
You probably wield more power than elected people.
No, because that's the whole point, is that I get instructed as to what to do.
Right. The money here, Jim.
It's that money was just resting in my account. No, I'm instructed to do things by the councillors. So the councillors are all elected, but not paid. Yeah. They meet monthly or thereabouts and make decisions for the good of their community. And the clerk is the person who they appoint to do the legwork. The clerk themselves has no decision-making abilities. And then, therefore,
which you like, because
no
you're
powers.
In your heart, you're a simpleton and you don't want to be in charge.
I'm perfectly happy being in charge. I like being in charge and I like making decisions.
Have you ever had imposter syndrome?
I don't think so.
So you haven't had that sort of crippling dread where you found yourself in charge, probably earlier in your career, maybe when you're running the shop, and suddenly realize you had no idea what you're doing and why you're in charge. You've always just had that sort of swagger, confidence of, yeah, I know I'm the boss and this is all great.
No, but the point about imposter syndrome is that you find yourself over promoted and you find that you're doing things that you think are above you. And I don't think in my career, such as it is, I don't think I've ever held positions of power or authority or anything above my ability.
Okay.
And I don't mean that to sound arrogant. It's just
had you managed shops before you became a shop owner?
No.
You just naturally fell into being a manager and then an owner?
Well, the history of it is, it's not particularly an interesting story.
Let's make it quick then.
I was contacted by a friend to say that a friend of theirs had opened a shop and would I like to go and help them run it because they needed some time off. So I went over and started working for them. And within 6 months, I thought they've got a really good business here. And I think this is what I'd like to do.
Was it the same sort of shop that you now
Well, it's
run?
the same brand that we're still running under. Okay. Yeah. So I approached them and said, I'd really like to take this on as a project. And will you allow me to franchise this? And I'll find a shop unit somewhere locally and bung up the name that you've chosen above the door.
Mm-hmm.
Buy double of what you're already ordering. Send half over to me. I'll pay you. And then I'll give you a percentage of whatever I make.
Mm-hmm.
And the original answer to that was, no, that's our plan. And that's what we want to do. But actually, after a bit of time, they said, there probably is room for you to do that. And so we embarked on this, what became a long-term project.
Right.
So
and that was 25 years ago.
Yeah. And we got to the stage where at one point, there were 8 shops with that branding, of which Claire and I had 3 franchises. There was another franchisee, very briefly, who had one. They themselves had 4 branches, the people who opened that had the original shop. So maybe there were 9 actually at one point then. And it was good. It was good fun. You're your own boss. It was what I always wanted to do. Never really wanted to. Always had a healthy disrespect of authority and
always good in an employee.
Oh,
or not?
I'm a much better self-employee than I am an employee.
Yeah.
I used to frustrate some of my. So at one point in the 90s, I was working at a company that had a chain of petrol garages and car repair centres, and I'm still really good friends with the owner now, Robert. But I used to frustrate the hell out of him because I was working in the office. He probably gave me things to do that weren't really very challenging. So I'd do things like, I still remember swapping the X and the Z on the keyboard of the accountant. And he was right. He wasn't a touch typist, so he was still looking at the keyboard. And he was writing these reports where the X's were Z's and the Z's were X's.
I can go a little bit darker than that. If you're messing with somebody's word processing software, you can go into the dictionary and put in autocorrect on one word. So it's always wrong. Or it changes a word that's really commonly used into something that it's not.
Yeah, I mean that wasn't possible then, but I obviously I know about those things now. It's less fun now than it was. I physically prized the key off his keyboard for a Z and changed it, because who knows which way around they are, right? So he was.
Oh, that's a good question. I very nearly glanced at my keyboard. I'm going to say it's ZX, and I'm correct.
Oh, well done.
Because I think computer games would have used that way around.
Right.
Left and
Okay.
right, ZX.
Well, the company accountant clearly wasn't a gamer, because he was writing reports where he said that they should fizz more cars.
Yeah, makes sense.
Practical jokes. Yeah, I loved that. That was a good time in my life, I have to say. That was good fun.
Cool. Going back to the question,
yeah,
you were last hunted by the local parish council.
By a parish council about 4 districts away last year, and I'm still helping them now.
Okay. When I wrote that question, I was definitely thinking about animals.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean,
when was I last hunted by an animal?
Yeah, well, have you ever been hunted by an animal?
No, of course not. We live in the UK. There aren't too many lions.
You don't have to constrain yourself to being in the UK.
Is this going somewhere for you? Did you want me to ask you that question? Have you been hunted by a wolf? An elephant?
So not a real animal.
So we could have cut out that whole thing about the parish council. Yeah, if you'd have just said, why don't you ask me about being hunted? We should swap questions.
I had a bit of a brown trouser moment when, let's say, there was a dinosaur. I was working for a broadcaster, a very well-known broadcaster, and they had this intellectual property which had been licensed to an Australian company that built these huge life-size puppets of dinosaurs. I worked at the BBC for about 5 years, and I had lots of weird jobs when I was there. And in fact, across my career, as you pointed out, you've annoyed several bosses. And I've annoyed even more bosses. In fact, I counted up the other day, in just over 25 years of working, I've had 40 jobs, which is an awful lot of jobs.
You've had 40 jobs?
40 jobs, yeah. Most of them not really connected to one another. So quite unusual spread. I mean, I've done this sort of thing. I've presented.
This was a job for you, was it?
The dinosaur thing, I was actually employed to go to a place where it was a press launch of Walking with Dinosaurs.
I remember that, yeah.
Like the stage show was coming to London after a wildly successful initial tour in Australia, where this company had licensed the IP and built these huge puppet dinosaurs. And when I say huge, they were life size. So the T-Rex is like 20-something feet tall. It's terrifying. And it's driven, there's a sort of car underneath it, sort of coloured grey, and is full of electronics and batteries and so forth. And the T-Rex is towering above it, this massive, very cleverly engineered puppet, which looks like the real thing. I'd taken my child up with me, and I think she was probably about 8 or 9 at the time. Got her out of school, got permission from the primary school. And I think they were probably just humouring me because, when you say, I want to take my kid out of school to go and see dinosaurs, went to this press launch of this Walking with Dinosaurs thing, probably about 10, 15 years ago. So all us journalists, 200 journalists or so, are in this very large, dark room, very much like a TV studio. And it's just got curtains along one side. And then there's security guys there, and they sort of push us back behind this rope. Then this baby T-Rex comes in, and this is a puppet master, puppeteer worn T-Rex outfit. So being, baby T-Rex comes in the room, and it's about 7 foot tall, and it's moving like a dinosaur. I'm thinking, that's really convincing. That's really big as well. This is startlingly cool. And everybody's going, this is amazing. Look at the size of this thing. It's like 8 foot tall. And it's, the tail is swishing around. The tail's 6 foot long, and the jaws, bigger than, you could easily fit my head in its mouth. This is the coolest thing we've ever seen. All these adults who are, journalists and reporters and what have you. And then there's a sort of loud thumping noise. And then the massive curtains open, and a mother T-Rex comes in. And this thing is 8 foot tall. Everybody immediately, brown trouser moment. And I'd never felt like food before. And in that moment, I learned what it was to feel like prey. And that was terrifying. And I've only experienced that twice in my life. And that was the first time.
Yeah.
And the second time was, I was very fortunate to go on to a work trip to Kenya. I was there for about nearly a month. During a World Cup, and it was a project where some BBC staff had given up their time, and somebody very senior at the BBC had just left and joined Google, And they had said, right, well, we've got some money to spend. We're going to go into very rural Kenya and screen World Cup games to like villages in the middle of very rural Kenya. Okay, why? Because that's what we're going to do. We're Google. We've got loads of money. Okay, fine. And the other thing they wanted to do was take some engineers who could do this, take satellite feeds, record stuff to DVD, set up generators, broadcast things. And so it was just a bunch of young engineers, including myself, from the BBC.
And it's probably breathtakingly gorgeous as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
In Kenya.
Oh, yeah, it was brilliant. Anyway, so Google picked up the tab, and that was great. And all the people I was working with had volunteered their time. And then we had some downtime, and we all decided to go on to safari. And the safari, one of the safari parks in Kenya, is the size of the Netherlands. And then eventually, sort of day two, halfway through day two, the tiny little minibus vehicle we were in pulled up next to a tree, and there was a lioness there, and I thought, oh, that's interesting, because all you see when you see a lioness in the wild up close, is the muscles and the claws, and the teeth, and the fact that they're just napping, and you suddenly realise if it wanted to, it could just shred the vehicle I'm in and eat me, and I wouldn't be able to do anything about it, because I kid you not, the muscles on the forearms of that lion were bigger than any bodybuilder I've ever seen, and they all like gleaming and tight muscle. You could see the definition, and I was terrified by that fact that not only the muscles were massive, but they were like, well, they haven't been lifting weights. All they've been doing is running around killing and eating animals, probably bigger than me. And that was even more visceral, a sort of feeling like fear. I wasn't necessarily hunted. I was in a metal box, but I didn't feel like it was a safe metal box in that moment at all.
I think you'd make better prey than I would, because I'm an apex predator, whereas you're a vegetarian.
I'm a lot leaner. I mean, you could. I'm a lot leaner than you. You could get somebody through the winter. You could be rendered down to make some sort of
candles,
candles and soap.
So the lionesses can see where they're hunting in the winter.
We're going to boil you down so we can hunt in the dark. Wow. Okay.
Well, lionesses are much smaller than tigers. Tigers are huge.
Yeah.
And people think lions and tigers are the same size, or they probably even think lions are larger.
Lions are pretty big. I mean, I wouldn't like to go, find one down a dark alley.
No, of course.
Definitely not.
But if you look at them side by side, a tiger is considerably larger than a lion.
But is the lion standing or lying? And on that bombshell, we've got to wrap it up. We've been yakking on for an hour on just pointless nonsense.
Didn't get to talk about my best stuff.
Okay. Well, you've talked about this. The best stuff, as in the joke.
Oh, the joke. Will you allow me time? Will you allow me time?
Will I allow him? Well, it depends. You need to rub it.
Yeah, just cut it off the end.
Yeah.
This is done in the style of Roddy Barker, who do you remember at the end of the show on the Two Ronnies? Do you remember?
Okay. History lesson, folks. The Two Ronnies were two comics who were active in the 1830s, which Jim obviously watched in theatrical review.
To remind you, because you clearly don't know.
Ronnies, yes,
the audience will know this because they're much better educated than you are, both of them. At the end of the Two Ronnies, they would sit there in their own clothes and talk as if they were news presenters. In the news today,
go on.
The Treasury has been found to have underreported the M2 money supply. It turns out that Rachel Reeves thought it was just the annual turnover of Maidstone services.
Good Lord. That's astonishing. I had some advice from a stand-up comic once.
Yeah, don't do jokes about the M2 money supply.
The advice was, you have to make people feel comfortable.
I found really uncomfortable telling it. Can we edit it off and I'll do it again in the next episode?
Yeah. Don't give up the day job.
No, all right. Maybe I can give it to you and you can deliver the joke.
I don't want to deliver that. Give it to a rubbish courier company. Tell them to lose it somewhere.
It would go down well at The Economist. That joke.
I'm not sure. They probably have better taste. We have promo. We've been talking about business, and the reason we can talk about business is that we've done it by just getting on with it and do it. But sometimes you need to invest in yourself and learn new skills by doing a course. So I'd like to give a shout out to TrainAid, who are a local company, but they operate nationally across the UK. And they do lots of online courses. And in fact, I've done a course with them recently that has qualified me to become a lecturer in further education. So I did an AET level 3, which is a replacement for the PTLLS. A bit of a mouthful. Learned it online, 200 quid. And they do have a range of different courses. They do first aid courses, they have teaching courses, they have fire marshal courses, all sorts of different things. Apart from throwing yourself into the deep end, which isn't always a good idea, it's quite high risk strategy, go on a course, invest in yourself, learn some new skills. The websites are available on the screen. In the meantime, we need to wrap up. So thank you very much for joining us during this Hub versus Boardroom. A bit more business stuff this week. Please do like and subscribe and comment, send us questions and feedback. We'd love to hear from you. And that's it for now. Thank you very much and toodaloo.